Hello, my friends. Today I'm going to tell you how to resolve tolerance and anger. I'm going to explain what they are. I'm going to um, develop from what I've already talked about the difference between tolerance and forgiveness, how they're very different, polar opposite energies. And I'm also going to explain how tolerance and anger will cause you cancer or heart disease if you don't deal with these. They will kill you slowly. We're going to look at the positive sides. We're going to look at your route map of how to let this go. And we're going to discuss a few issues which have been brought up on my previous videos about tolerance, which has obviously got you guys out. I've had more comments and messages on my two videos about tolerance and dealing with it than I have on all of my other videos. So this is clearly a topic that you guys need, that you need, that this has clearly been sitting there, simmering, percolating. I've clearly tapped into something that needs to be addressed. And this does need to be addressed, folks, because the short version here is that if you don't resolve your tolerance issues, if you don't resolve your anger issues, they will definitely manifest into something sinister. And we're talking cancer, heart disease, strokes. There's no other way to say this, folks. That's where it leads. And who am I to tell you that? Well, I've worked in that field for over 13 years, frontline medicine. I've studied mind body medicine. I've spent the best part of 30 plus years studying this stuff at length. And although I have to tell you that it's just my opinion and not medical advice, I can tell you that it's based on my personal experiences dealing with thousands of people who'd had strokes, heart attacks, or cancer. And one thing that's common, folks, and you'll know if you're my regulars on this channel, but for those finding me the first time, I'm going to recap on the important stuff, and then I'm going to circle round and build on what we've talked about in the previous videos. So the bottom line is that every incidence of repressed emotion, which is you basically having to suck stuff up, which is you having a negative emotional response and not dealing with the issue and holding that in your body, that the longer you do that for, you're percolating serious illness. These are the foundations of cardiovascular disease, which will lead to a heart attack or a stroke, and cancer. Facts, folks, facts. Now, obviously, I can't claim it's medical advice, as we've already mentioned, which I will re-emphasize, but definitely I have a lot of experience in dealing with this. And I can assure you, if you speak to anyone that's had a stroke, a heart attack, or cancer, and you probably won't even be able to speak to someone that's had a stroke, because they might not even be able to speak to you. But if you ask them this single question, just single question, I guarantee they will be able to know straight away what the answer is. And it's what's caused you elevated stress over the last 12 to 6 months. And everyone that's had a heart attack, stroke, and cancer will be able to answer that instantly. Instantly, folks. Instantly. Stress, stress, daily stress is the cause. And we talked about this thing about we're being trained to be tolerant, especially by society at the moment, being told that if we speak up, we'll be having fingers pointed at us, and you'll either be far right, you'll be a racist, you will be a misogynist, you will be anti-Semitic, you will be anti-gay. So there's a lot of labels throwing their way around at the moment. And maybe you are, you probably aren't. But the thing is, these are getting used very loosely these days to crush dissent at its cause. So there's two types of dissent. There's one that's being levied at us by the powers that be in societal, but this video is more about the personal stuff that's going to be you're going to be dealing with, which will be the people in your direct network, people that maybe you've made excuses for, the people that have had bad behavior firing your way that you haven't yet dealt with. So people that also know my channel will know that I talk about healers, empaths, and light workers attracting lunatics in their world. I call them lunatics. We're all a little bit lunatic, folks. We're all a bit lunatic when push comes down to shove. But empaths will attract narcissists into their world. The reason that they do this is to make things so intolerant for them that you grow a backbone and you develop an aspect of your personality which you've kept repressed for too long, folks. Too long. The healer, the empath, the light worker, we're trained to believe. There's a misguided belief that it's nice to be nice. It's nice not to rock the boat. It's nice not to speak up. It's nice that if everyone else is calm, not to upset the apple cart. It's nice to accept terrible behavior for the greater good and do nothing with it. Well, this video is about no, that's absolutely the opposite. That you are being called to wake up, you're being called to grow a backbone, you're being called to get out of whatever situation it is. And it's very common amongst healers and empaths to attract narcissists in their world and get trapped in long relationships with them. So the symptoms of narcissism, for those that haven't seen my videos on this, we'll keep it brief, is the narcissist is always right. You are always wrong. They will always start the trouble. They will always blame you for starting the trouble, even though it was blatant that it was them that started it. And they will convince you that it was your fault. They will always be right. They will be very precious if you throw anything at them. They're very sensitive when you're doing what they do to you, but they're absolutely ruthless. There is no limits to what a narcissist will do to make you feel like shit because they get their power from you being suppressed. That's how it works. And the main trait with a narcissist is that they have no empathy. So if you're trying to reason with them, you're wasting your time. They have trained behaviors which can come across as them being your best friend, but it's all an act, folks. It will always be balanced with them losing the plot and making you feel like shit. That's narcissism 101. Now, I don't want to go into full diagnostic, but these types of behaviors should get you to start questioning, hang on, I know someone like that. And the worst thing is, folks, that if you're living with a narcissist, or worse, you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you probably watched them do this to people in public, and you've probably apologized for them and told them stuff like, they're not always like this. That's not who they are. You're deluded, folks. Unfortunately, that's exactly who they are. And you're enabling these lunatics to go in and piss your friends and family off. That's the reality of being in a relationship with a narcissist. Could be your family, could be your mother and father. And part of that will be, growing up feeling isolated, lonely, criticized all the time, always wrong, always being attacked. This is a life skill, folks. It's like a vaccine. Criticism is like a vaccine. Anything that causes you to need tolerance is like a vaccine. It spikes at you. But where forgiveness is letting things go, which is the absolute resolution. Tolerance is where stuff sits with you and it stews, it festers. And that's the difference. That's what we're here to talk about. And in my previous thread on tolerance, we talked about that people were coming out with incidents of things. Some have escaped long-term relationships. Well done. It's the hardest thing and it's the bravest thing for a healer and empath to get out of a narcissistic relationship because it goes against the grain of your core personality, which is agreeing and empathizing with people. But you've realized, you've woken up to the fact that however much you empathize with a narcissist, they have no empathy, none. They don't care. And that you can match them halfway house. Every time you give a step in their direction, they'll take another one. There's no winning with a narcissist. The only thing that you can do is get out. The oxygen to the flames of a narcissist is you putting up with it and listening to their nonsense. So the bottom line is, folks, you're going to list. If you want an exercise to do this, you're going to list the things that have caused you anger or intolerance, the things that you're tolerating that upset you the most. List them and rate them. Rate them. So 1 out of 10 is mildly irritating, but I can live with it. 10 out of 10 is I wake up every day ready to swing at someone, or it pisses me off so much, it's on my mind all the time. So anything 7 or above, we want to deal with. Anything below a 7, you'll be able to let that go if you deal with the big stuff. The reason all this little stuff manifests in our world is because we're not dealing with the big stuff. So it's not necessary to deal with every incident head on here. You deal with the big stuff, the little stuff becomes insignificant. Your energy changes. This is cutting the head off the monster. That's not the Hydra, of course, but that's another conversation for another day. This is the going straight to the heart of the issue. Straight to the heart of the issue. It's dealing with the biggest problem, the highest rating on that list. And it's probably a friend or family or relationship that's direct. Probably parents, children, brothers, sisters, or life partner. It's almost definitely one of those folks if it's a big issue and it's a big number, because it'll be on repeat over time. On repeat over time. So there's part of you that's a lunatic putting up with this. And these are lunatics because they will just take and take. They're like vampires. They just drain you until you've got nothing left to give. Then they spit you out. Then they move to the next person. It's a narcissist for you. So an ultimate in energy vampires. But they can't drain your energy without your permission, folks. And this is about taking responsibility for your own energy. This is about waking up. This whole thing, this whole lunatic thing is about waking up. It's about you waking up and ultimately understanding the dynamic, knowing where it's going to lead, which is cancer, heart disease, stroke. And so many people on the thread in their comments have said they've already gone through this and they've had to get out. But they had to get that ill to wake up. Hopefully, you'll get this message before you've had to go through this. Because the end goal, I am the ghost of Christmas future for you, if you're an empath, folks, to tell you that a narcissist is going to lead you in hospital if you don't deal with this. If you don't get out, exit, beam me up, Scotty, get me out of here, quick, jump ship, folks, jump ship. It's the only way. It's the only way to deal with this, folks. So if you deal with the major issues, suddenly you start to let go. Suddenly you get to reconcile the energy within your body. Suddenly you start to get rid of the cancer. Now, when cancer comes, when heart attacks come, when strokes come, the thing I used to get from every single patient that ever had one of those is there were no warning signs. So here's the warning signs. Here, I'm going to give you the warning signs. It all starts with a poor relationship with yourself, and you know how poor it is because think if somebody pissed your friend off, how angry you would get about that versus how angry you would get if they did it to you. And you're more likely to let it go because you're a healer and empath. That's where it starts, self-relationship. It will then manifest to someone close to you, mother, sister, brother, mother, sister, father, brother, one of those immediate things, son, daughter, an immediate relationship that's gone wrong. And you will have serious issues with at least one of those. Move it forward. You're in a job or relationship that you don't love, and that's been going on for time. Now go to the next step. You've got medical issues now, which are getting very, very serious. That's hypertension, diabetes. These are two of the later warning symptoms. And just one step from the serious stuff is either palpitations, where you feel your heart racing like this, or little stabbing chest pains. These are the last chance saloon that something really serious is about to happen, folks. There's your warning symptoms. There's your warning symptoms. It doesn't happen without warning. We just train ourselves to ignore the symptoms. That is welcome to cancer. Welcome to a heart attack. Welcome to a stroke. If you do not get out, if you don't change radically, if you don't resolve this issue of this stuff building up within you. And you might think you're doing it for the good of anyone else, but are you prepared to die for it, folks? Because this is ultimately where it leads. So there's the symptoms, there's the warning signs. There is what you need to do, and that's to get out and to deal with this. And that's my message for you today, folks. And I know realistically that most people aren't ready to hear this. Most people aren't ready to handle the truth. Most people can't even comprehend what a future, a better future would look like. So here's another goal. If you did have a better future, if you were writing a book, if you could write the next chapter, what would it be? And most people that are trapped in this cycle that are heading towards serious disease never even thought about what an ideal future or alternative is. So do that. Do yourselves a massive favor, folks. Write a different chapter. At least have a vision of what a better future would look like. Because if you don't have that, then you're heading towards an early death, unfortunately. Now, I know that's a little bit drastic and it's a little bit, oh my God. But somebody needs to tell it to you, folks, because I'd rather you heard it now than you have to go to a hospital and get all of this to find it out in the future. And some of you will be watching this thinking, oh God, I wish I'd seen that video before it happened to me. And if you do, if you are that person and you're still alive, well done. Well done for getting through it, because it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. For a healer and empath, this is this is the worst case scenario, or it's one of them. This is one of the most difficult things you'll ever do. So I'm not going to underplay it. And some people need longer than others to wake up to it, to wake up, folks. So hopefully this Jedi mind trick will wake you up. It will alert you to the fact of what is about to happen if you don't wake up to this, if you don't deal with the problem head on. And ask yourself, is the person that's causing you all this pain worth dying for? Because that's really the question that you need to be processing right now. So, folks, on that lovely light note, I'm now going to leave you to ponder on this. What I will say is that if you want some resources, if you want little drip fed reminders, if you want things that can help you on your path with this, if you're a healer and an empath, a light worker, and you're about to wake up and you want a better life and you want to connect with better people, then show this video a little bit of love. By all means, ask your questions in the comments. Like and subscribe, folks. You know the drill. It will be really helpful to me. It will be more helpful to you. Could save your life, folks. And if you want more of my random ramblings, then you've got a little video there. But either way, folks, look, this is really difficult. I know that this is not something that's going to happen overnight. Or maybe it will. Who knows? But either way, keep your light shining, stay positive, and write a more positive new chapter in your life.